A very good morning, ma'am. Welcome to Advancing Northeast. And before we move forward, I'll just start with a little introduction of what Advancing Northeast is. So, Advancing Northeast is a one stop solution portal for the youths of Northeast India in the field of education, employment, and entrepreneurship. It is a digital initiative by the Ministry of Development of Northeastern Region, Northeastern Council, and Northeast Development Finance Corporation Limited. So, it's a joint initiative to serve the youths of Northeast in whatever especially in career mentoring sessions to make informed decisions on career and livelihood. So it's basically an information hub, and all kinds of information are clubbed together in one space for them. And also, Advancing Northeast has been hosting career talks every week to engage and bring globally benchmarked professionals to connect to the youths of Northeast and answer all their queries and apprehensions regarding to their career options. And so here again, we are with yet another career talk on career pathways that provide opportunity to fight violence against women and society in general on the occasion of International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women, which is today, 25th of November 2022. And we are delighted to welcome our guest for today, Ms. Hasina Kharbhih, founder and chairperson of Impulse NGO Network, Meghalaya, an NGO which has been extensively working for the purpose of addressing trafficking of women and children of Northeast India for sexual exploitation and forced labor. And it has also been working not only for Northeast India, but for the entire world. It has been spread around the world. So welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for having me at Advanced Northeast today.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for being here and for connecting with us. Wishes on the International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women. So we'll start, ma'am, with a little introduction of yours and opening remarks on today's day, today's occasion, and also about you for our audience. Please, ma'am.
Well, I think 32 years down the journey, I stand here as a woman and will always work towards elimination on any form of discrimination against women and any kind of violence. If we talk about violence against women, I always believe that every day is a day that we need to end violence against women. And every day is a day that we need to be aware that women are not commodities. Women are not there to be exploited, but women are at par, and we are at part of equity in the process of who we are. So it's a very important part of how every year we observe this day to remind ourselves, but to also remind our communities, our families, that women and violence against them should never be a discussion any longer. Have to enjoy that space of not being violated when it comes to their rights.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Beautiful words. And like they said, this year's theme for violence against the Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women is Unite, which is supporting and investing in strong autonomous women's rights organizations. And the basic idea is to unite the women folk and women community to stand against oppression that has been continuing for years. So to continue this, ma'am, we would like to know a little about you, your journey, your school, graduation and post-graduation. Please, ma'am.
Well, I am born and brought up in Shillong, a small town, like any young girl in a small town like Shillong. Started in a school called St. Joseph English School, which is a convent school, and started in a Lady Keane College, again, a college in my hometown. So I'm a small town girl who, in fact, love where I come from. And I grew from that little small place to do what I do and what I love the most to do. That is addressing the issue of unsafe migration and the issue of how unsafe migration leads to human trafficking. My journey started at 17 when I was very actively involved in the leadership training services, a program in my school that helped us to build high empathy around the environment that we live. So it's a program that really engaged me to see how the community live and how we can play a part of that whole process. After high school, I felt that the journey had to be continued and got my group of friends from my school to say, let's form an alumni. The birth of the alumni, called the Leadership Training Services, gave birth to the organization that is running 32 years right now, and going to be in a process of celebrating next year, the 35 from the day one of when it was born. And that is where my first initial part started, when I believed that young people can be change makers, and young people can contribute to the whole development spaces. And it's just not about charity any longer, that, you don't have to be a retired person to get into development. You could be a young person and still play an impactful, an impactful person in the way that we live every day and make changes, whether small or big. But I think every big journey started a small one, and that's how my journey started. And when I look back, starting a nonprofit 32 years ago was something that, nobody around me agreed that, a young person could make it. But I think when your passion is led with your commitment and you have resilience to actually carry that forward, everything becomes a reality. That dream becomes a reality. And I think that's how my journey started. And Impulse NGO Network today works in four countries, that is India, Nepal, Myanmar, and Bhutan, and as well as Bangladesh. So when we go back to that, I'm so happy to see that the work that innovated from a small town, and an innovation that was born in a small town, when we didn't have any solution to address violence against women, which is the gray area of the space of human trafficking. Every steps from the legal framework was adopted as a methodology, and the Impulse model, which stands on 12 pillars, which is the 6 P's and 6 R's, give birth to a solution. And it's a single window solution that got scaling out to Myanmar, Nepal, and Bangladesh, and of course simultaneously expanding to other countries, and which is this Bhutan as well. That's also we're working with Korea and Japan. So we believe that a single window platform unite women across board, across nations, to see as a solution that can address the worst form of violence against women, which is human trafficking.
Yes, ma'am. Very, very inspiring, ma'am. So the idea has been with you since high school, right? You got inspired to do it since that. Yeah. So, ma'am, what was the driving point, that led you to it? That, you just thought, okay, I would just open this non-profit, even though it involves a lot of risk and everything for a young girl. So what was the main factor, ma'am? Have you experienced anything regarding violence of women or human trafficking in personal that actually drove you to this field?
I was very discomfort with the surrounding around me, seeing that every issue concerning women and girls, or even other human being, was always put from the context that they are the vulnerable one and we are the non-vulnerable one. By doing a charity towards it, we're solving a solution. That discomfort actually, in my experience as a leadership training service member, that also I was heading this in my high school, I felt that why can we change the narrative of addressing it from a human right lens, that all of us have our rights, the rights has to be achieved. And if you have to achieve that rights, then we need to ensure that that rights is being fulfilled from the legal framework. And when I started talking to my group of friends in school, and I said, we need to take this forward when we go to college. So as undergrads then, when we were joining a Lady Keane College, I was just saying, like, we should take this and form an alumni, but never thought in the wildest dream that the alumni would actually give birth to the organization that I'm running today. And I think that happened because there was a collectiveness of eagerness of young people's mind coming together and making that change. And that's how it was born. But in the course of time, the situation around the northeast of India, especially after the ban on timber from an environmental lens, had led to a lot of economic situations where people did not have livelihood. Because we were working with a village called Sinten, where we were trying to give resilience market to the craft, the art and craft of Meghalaya. And we saw that the raw material that was not available any longer because the ban on timber was blanket ban, that even bamboo and cane was clubbed as an environmental protection rather than from our agricultural lens. So while we were working to solve the problem, we saw migration was growing and young people were taking as child labor. And that opened the next level of understanding how violation of young girls in the labor forces, especially leading them to sexual exploitation, was something that was, again, discomfort me. And I said, we need to look at how we can address that. So it started with a very, very small step when I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have all the expertise then, but I had that drive. I had that belief that we have to make that change. So I think every change start, with a small passion within us. And everyone out there have a passion. It's just sometimes we don't drive the passion forward. We don't bring that passion to a reality. Or sometimes we get, we get so carried away and with everything around ourselves that we forget that we can make changes in this world. So I think that was the first step of what I decided, that I have to take that step. So then I decided to take a next step, got my friends together and said, let's form an organization, let's get into the legalities. And every step was a learning step. It was nothing, there was no ready-made solution. So you learned everything from scratch. But I think that's the greatest knowledge one can acquire when you have to do it yourself. And then you carry back the learning lesson. And when you make mistake as a young person, you stand up again to redo things, so it's always good to start young, because when you start young, it helps you to learn more and to build larger knowledge. And when you start young, it helps you to bring people together, without any kind of ego around. But I think the growth process of my journey has been that I've kept my ego behind. And it's more about bringing collective leaders to envision a common vision together, that the world has to be freed from slavery. And if you have to do that, you cannot do it alone. It has to be done together. And I think that is where Impulse, the model, which is the heart and soul of the organization, stands strongly as we are scaling out to multiple countries. While we're scaling out, we're scaling deep. Way back in 2012, remembering that when the innovation got the world prize, I was amazed that that small journey from a small town called Shillong would be recognized globally. So the possibility that when we believe in what we do, it makes things happen, because we will work towards it no matter what happens. So I think every young person there, whatever career you want to take it up, I think at the end of the day, it's the belief that you have in yourself and opening your minds to allow things to grow and not to be rigid, and not allowing success to take away, your spirit of working together with others. When you're humble with what you do, you grow multiple, but when you get carried away by the successes that you get in your course of time, you forget from where you come from. You can never grow. You can never sustain yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Such perfectly put together was such a moment of pride that, from Northeast India, small town from Northeast Shillong, and then, Impulse, the name Impulse says a lot of things, that how it came out of that impulse, and then you have worked extensively towards this field, and now it is such a big thing. And ma'am, so you have witnessed this, because since you are now working in different parts of the world, you have connections with different parts of the world. So how vulnerable do you think that Northeast India is in this regard of human trafficking?
So when we're looking at human trafficking, it's a global problem, and it's a multi-billion industry, and it will continue to thrive when there's a demand. So when there's a demand, there's always a supply. Coming back to the northeast of India, we have to look at where the geography is. Geographically, we are surrounded by many countries around us: Myanmar, Nepal, Bangladesh, China, Bhutan. So we are actually, the entry to the entire northeast is Chicken Neck, which is the northeast, North Bengal. So it is a destination, but it's also a transit, but it's also a source point, because of the complexity of the borderline. The issues of employment, the issue of the lack of economic growth in the region has over and over again drive people to move out. And in the way the people are moving out to strive a passion outside or to get a livelihood outside has made them vulnerable when choices are very limited. So that is one part of how the human trafficking scenario has been. The movement of people from the region because of lack of economic, the situation that whatever traditional art and craft that is available there, the richness of the indigenous people did not have a resilience market, has also pushed people to leave where they, to leave what they have and move in as a labor force. I'm not saying that migration should not be there. Migration is a right. Every one of us migrate from one place to the other. But the different factor is that when we migrate from, a safety place to an unsafe place, we need to understand that the destination where we are heading has to have the support system. Then only we are not migrating unsafely. But very often that doesn't really happen when young people move with their aspiration, in many multiple places. Sometimes we don't check the credentials of who's offering that aspiration or who's fulfilling the aspiration for us. The destination point sometimes brings the harmful effect of how people gets duped into this whole nexus of human trafficking. But then today, if we're looking how the digital world or technology has connected people so much, and one way we have technology for good, but we also have challenged technology in the sense that how vulnerable people are becoming, in this whole wide world where connectivity is so widespread, and how people and young people are getting connected to the unknown. So there's a complexities of human trafficking online today that actually brings highly vulnerable, not just to people from below poverty line, but each one of us who's using technology, each one of us who's connecting to the world, have to be able to understand that we are connecting to the unknown. So we need to have what we call it, a way of how we protect ourselves and understand that we are opening ourselves to the world, but at the same time, we have to be highly vigilant to what we open up to the world, because we also have a lot of trafficking cases online where traffickers today are luring more people online rather than how they would be luring people when I started off going to villages, going to places, offering jobs. So the shift, of human trafficking has emerged to be very much complex. And as people who work in this space, we have to unlearn things and also learn new things of how we can tackle this problem in a much more effective manner.
Yes, ma'am. So such an irony that as many people are becoming smart and becoming more digital, but they're also getting duped by all these scams and everything. Yeah. So awareness is very important in this regard. So, ma'am, now speaking of the cause, we'll move towards the career side, like the people who are willing to work towards this field, towards the sector. So, what are the different job roles do you think that are available that provides opportunity to work towards this eliminating violence against women, duties and responsibilities associated with such job roles?
So if we go back from where I just ended now and talk about technology, the role of storytelling, the role of the technology platform needs a lot of high-skilled people who understand this space, what the world should be taught, what education do we give the world when it comes to violence against women, how do we really create that awareness? So technical skill in the IT world with an understanding on the subject matters on human rights and issues of human trafficking or violence against women is a space where it's completely available, and we have very limited people entering this field. So, it's just not about learning, IT solutions or technology, but having the heart in the right place to understand that how social issues, that are very, very affecting the communities and people at large, you can use this tool as a mechanism to educate the world. There are also spaces where we need a lot of curating team, people who can curate the narrative of the issue in the much more efficient manner in a world where people attention span is getting shorter every day. How do we tell the people about violence against women in the most efficient manner? Requires curator, filmmakers, it requires people with creative sense. It requires people that has better understanding on the issue. So research and documentation, data analysis people, IT technology solution people that are also in the institutional management, how you also make institution that takes the issues of human trafficking to the next level, or addressing issues of violence against women to the next level. So it's very important in a comprehensive space that allows all forms of skill sets to come together to enhance how we can address more efficiently. So I'm not saying that it's a limited space, but because when people look at the human rights space, they always look at from one single lens, that you have to be a human rights activist, you have to be a feminist to be addressing this issue. No, you can be an IT high-tech person and still address this issue. You can put your skill there. You could be a writer. You could be a person who is a curator. You could be an artist. You could be a person that has the heart in the right place, and have the understanding on human rights issues, that can be part and build a career on this space. So it's not limited that you have to do an MSW or a BSW, or you have to do an MA in sociology. No, the social spaces has a wide range of operation that allows career span in a wider space. Because today I work with a lot of creative people in this space who contribute largely in making changes in
special initiative and learning which you would like to highlight from your experience on working towards this field, and also any message for our aspiring youths who want to actually go to the field and work. Any message, ma'am?
My message to all the young people out there, as we observe International Day on Violence Against Women, speak up when there's a violence, address the issue, play your role, which is more important, especially in the digital space, where you educate the masses, work with established organization that can give you value of information and content, so that you can transfer that, in the new forms of education to the masses. Well, we have a lot of career, opportunities in this space. Do not look at development space only from the lens of a BSW, an MA in sociology, or an MA in social work, or a master in social work. You can be in any field of expertise and skills. When you would like to be a part of making change in this world, your contribution matters, because then we are going to make the world a better place. And whether you are an IT professionals, you are in the gearing, an engineer, you are actually in the medical field, you are a law student, you can participate to bring your version of how you can be a change maker in the development spaces by contributing. So it's just not about working from a human rights lens, because each one of us play that lens with the skill set that we have. So I think out there, don't limit yourself. Come on board, be part of this whole journey, be part of this whole process, and how we can together end violence against women. Let's unite for that. When you say unite, all skill set has to unite, all expertise has to unite, all experiences, and all the young people can play a massive change maker process in ending violence against women.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Beautiful concluding remarks. Also, ma'am, lastly, any say on this initiative of ours, Advancing Northeast? What do you think about it?
Well, Advancing Northeast is a platform that I feel more and more young people should get engaged, and more stories of the region should be told to the world. Advancing Northeast is a platform that I feel can bring together different skill sets, different expertise, different stories that has made changes in this world. Advancing Northeast is let's make Northeast a better place. And I think this is a platform where we can communicate, we can talk, we can share our ideas, but at the same time, we make this platform a connecting platform.
Yes, absolutely. So let's make Northeast a better place and make it a safe space for women and children and everybody living. Yes, ma'am. So again, wishes on International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women to everyone celebrating. Let's unite and let's stand in solidarity for each other. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your kind words, ma'am.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We would like to have, more collaborations in the near future.
Sure. Yeah. I look forward.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being here.